Hello and welcome to another jungle video and the first of our season 11 content. And I've seen a few people talking about this jungle is ruined, and then I've seen other posts and comments, oh no, I will never be able to kite again. But rest easy my ganking friends, I'm here with a list of the full changes including the latest change to the omnivamp of the jungle item, and to give you all the information you need about the season 11 jungle to prepare you for next week, all within a nice condensed video. So if you enjoy the content and want more and of course are excited for season 11, please do consider liking and of course subscribing, and don't forget to comment below what junglers you are most excited about using. Obviously you know I'm excited to try Zyra and Ornn, because I need to make my life more exciting that way. Also don't forget this video will be sponsored by the Kha'Zix Odyssey codes. Join me on Planet 9 for a giveaway coming this week as well, and without further hesitation, let's begin. Now I'm going to spend a lot of time in this section because jungling in the first 5 minutes is absolutely crucial and these changes impact us all. And at this point I'm thinking about forming a jungle union to help against laner abuse. Right, so most of our lives we've used a hunter's machete or talisman based upon whether we auto attack or use spells. Talisman would give you that spell damage that steals HP, also burn damage, some vital mana regeneration so you could actually keep casting your spells. Hunter's machete gave you that 10% lifesteal versus monsters, bonus damage on hit, and both of these items increased healing by 50% when under 30% HP. Those days are gone. Let me introduce to you Ember Knife and Hail Blade respectively. Ember Knife being the orange one in case that wasn't, obvious enough. That's it. You pick the red one for red smite, you pick the blue one for blue smite. It provides 12% omnivamp instead. That is a collective term to suggest healing from AD, AP, and true damage. Now this was 10% originally, went down to 8%. I tried clearing with, Warwick and Volibear, cried a little bit. Then as of November 2nd, they upped that to 12% and I was once again happy. Much more like live, able to sustain nicely as an auto attacker. You maintain your mana from spellcasting. It's worth noting that the damage burn, the talisman carryover, this scales based upon bonus HP, AP, and AD, and now our mana regeneration remains but scales with levels. The biggest shift here is we were going to have a talisman execute proc, if the burn damage was going to kill the monster, then it would just kill it immediately. I had mixed feelings about that because, kiting and camp out perfectly, watching the burn just tick away. Not only was that satisfying, it also allowed you to kite from camp to camp, drag them across, even pull wolves and raptors into the middle of mid lane. We will address that when we talk about the camp speed shortly. But that burn execute is now gone and basically remains as it does now. The biggest shift about these items is that once you have smited 5 times with either one, it gets upgraded with a fancy graphic, and now you are able to use that smite on champions. You pick your red smite or your blue smite accordingly at the beginning of the game, and when it does get upgraded in an oh so satisfying way, it removes itself from your inventory and you no longer have to buy a jungle item because jungle items no longer exist. Because junglers like supports can now go into their core itemization. So 2 things. The omnivamp in conjunction with the other changes we're going to talk about in a second will affect each champion uniquely in terms of how fast they clear. I don't wish to give you a blind prediction of the meta because no one knows at this point. Itemization will play a huge factor in that. But for the second thing, when I did the hot take on my gameplay channel, we weren't sure about final mythic itemization, cost of all the items, and some of them just seemed really weird, and I was concerned that the jungle item, because we are on a budget naturally, would be very much missed in terms of accessible itemization. However, the reality is you are saving yourself 650 gold out of pocket, which can then go towards your core itemization. So if a jungle item is 2600, now you save yourself 650. Okay, we're talking mythic. That is some quick maths for you. Because Hunter's Machete and Talisman are now one item in all a 350 cost, you can afford to go straight into a Duskblade if you're Rengar. Now you did that anyway as a Rengar, but other champions can do the same. AP junglers can afford to go straight into Ludens while saving that gold. No need for baby Ludens anymore. Cinderhulk users, you're concerned about the bonus HP. Well, you can simply choose a mythic that gives you bonus HP on all your items. Or simply put, the new Sunfire Cape is glorious. Balmy Cinder for your clears, and then an Aegis for dual resistances. That is definitely more useful for tanks. Half the time we go Cinderhulk with no resistances, and that delays our core itemization. So overall, once all of this is panned out, I really like the change. The biggest downside is to early skirmishing junglers. Lee Sins, Rek'Sais, Nidalees, whatever. You get a couple kills, you go back to base, you buy a red skirmishing saber or a stalker's blade. Now you are running around the map using it on champions without a concern in the world. You have to smite a monster 5 times before it gets upgraded. This will greatly delay that skirmishing power in the 1v1s. However, that's a good thing because red smite has been kinda strong for a very long time. Instead of having a red smite, everyone's gonna have a few long swords or amtomes instead. Overall, I think it will actually balance out, but it is definitely something to think about. I know as volley, getting that early Stalker's Blade can be absolutely huge, and not having it on early ganks, you know, combined with the Nimbus Cloak nerfs and the Q nerfs and all the other sadness, it's just going to feel even worse than he already does. Okay, next up we're going to be talking about the jungle systems. Ultimately, camp resistances have been unified. All camps now have 20 armor and magic resist that scales with levels and therefore gives benefit to things like armor pen, magic pen, and true damage. AP Jungler just finished a flat 15 pen magic boots, while Grumpy here has 20 magic resist. All of a sudden that's basically 5. And to aid the face tankers among you, I hope if you watch this channel you are not a face tanker, they're looking to find a middle ground of durability. That means adjusting the health a little bit. Everyone is losing a bit of HP, and that amounts to a lot of numbers, so I will link directly to the tweet with those if you're interested. But the most notable is that the Raptors are getting stonkier, coupled with the resistances adding in a lot of HP for both the large and the small Raptors. And you know what? Let's use that as a segue for the fact that they're also getting faster. Bigger, faster, stronger seems to be the mantra for the jungle changes. And most notably, you'll see the big raptor is getting quite fast. From 350 to 450, you can also see the changes to the rest of the camps on your screen now. Red buff will remain the same. Blue buff will now be as fast as red buff. And you all know how wonderfully thick that blue sentinel is. Now imagine it running at you like, you know, an Indiana Jones boulder. And I will show you side by side the different camps on live versus PvE to see how quickly they are running. And the point of this is to eliminate the drastic kiting that ranged junglers currently have in the meta. Lilias, Nidalees, you've got your Karthus of course, Kindreds. Graves doesn't really have the same issue, but now at least when he knocks them back, they're gonna run back at him much quicker. It's allowing these champions to farm quickly, farm healthily, and because of the nature of kiting, you could drag camps almost to the next quadrant, even the middle of lanes, and now you can't exactly do that. Here's why. Not only can your Lilias and Karthuses simply go Krugs, Raptors, Wolves, Gromp, gank, Krugs, Raptors, Wolves, Gromp, gank. Very interactive gameplay I might add. But because it becomes easier to do damage to these camps, because you can essentially drag them to the next one, they're able to rinse the camps way too easily and sort of snowball without having too much of an interactive effect on the map. Now most of you know from my jungling, I do not subscribe to the AFK farm meta, I don't like it. So while this means the patience runs out sooner and they run faster, therefore you can't exactly do the same thing, it also means if you kite it properly and you do everything you're meant to be doing as a jungler, you will be absolutely fine. You will lose a bit more HP. We do have the new Omnivamp, you just won't be able to move from camp to camp as easily as you can do now, slowing down the full clear camp sequencing we've been seeing for the last 12 months. At least that is my understanding, and of course a quick superficial look at how it could impact the meta, but ultimately your champions will be affected differently to my champions, and we will see within the course of 2 weeks how it affects everyone. But the more it affects Karthus and Lilia, the happier I will be. And also I play Zyra jungle, so I have plans. Doesn't affect me. Just a little bit, but not as much. And to close this out, we have 3 changes to Scuttle, Gromp, and Krugs that will have the attributes changed to be better visualized. First up, we have the Scuttle. Now, as we all know, applying CC to the Scuttle removes resistances. The Scuttle now also has 20 armor and magic resist, but instead of having that removed with CC, has a shield on top of him, equal to 60% its maximum HP. Instead of being some kind of squishy crustacean, it looks a bit more like a part-time prawn that cannot be destroyed even with a nuclear weapon. If you're South African, you get it. If not, just Google and look. If you don't have CC, you simply have to get your way through the shield, much like going through an Ardent Sensor meta Janna. If you do have CC, it gets immediately removed and you can carry on about your business. What you must know, however, is that it does not give you heals and mana when you kill it. How many times have you gone for a dragon, low HP after a fight, and your ADC takes a crab? You say, hey, I needed the HP and mana. They say, well, I needed the gold, and then you die and they ping you. Yeah, gone are those days because, you know, the same thing's gonna happen, except this time you don't even get the regeneration, so whatever. That regeneration, however, is sent to our generous Gromp. That's right, Grumpy no longer has his 3 fast attacks at the beginning with increased damage. He now gives you heal and mana when you kill him, and because he does magic damage, the AD scale on that damage has been reduced. A friendlier Gromp for a friendlier swamp. At the same time, you know, Gromp always takes a lot of resources. Spellcasters usually have to use quite a few spells, face tank him a lot, and it takes a lot of your HP and depletes your early clearings. Now you can actually afford to include Gromp in your early game planning because guess what? He giveth back. He might not turn into a prince, but that HP and mana is just as valuable. Finally, if Riot hasn't had enough fun mocking all mains and myself for the past year, basically saying, here, look at this skin we're never gonna release, and they're not saying anything about it, and yeah, I know, 3.5 years no skin, it should have been done before. I'm glad Skarner main should receive Cosmic, but anyway, I digress. The point is, Krugs have Prestige Edition before Ornn has a skin. That's right, no longer they are blue, but they are gold. I actually don't like the change, I prefer them blue. But the reason for that is because they're having a drastic shift. Now normally we would do the large krug, the medium krug, and then leave the babies to fend for themselves. Riot thought this was kind of monstrous, I mean we are junglers, and shifted a bunch of experience into the medium krugs, forcing us to try and take it if we wanted the same value from the camp. And then junglers were split into two pools, those that kept doing the same thing and those that kept taking the mediums and just leaving the babies a little bit because ugh. So now the babies have even more gold, even more experience, and essentially if you want the full value of the camp you have to stick around and clear them all. This greatly sucks for auto-attacking junglers, let me tell you. Not only have they split Tiamat taking away the active, you still get the passive but you lose the active, which means it does affect, these kind of camp clears as well. But sitting around to auto-attack each krug, I mean that's a lot of valuable time wasted just to get the maximum experience from the camp. AoE spellcasters have always been able to do krugs much faster, and in turn auto-attack users got to have the Gromp where they had the advantage. So this final change to krugs I don't like, because sticking around to do large and all the mediums, and then if you really had to rotate and leave the babies, that was okay. So all in all, I'm interested to see how this change affects who stays around to actually finish the whole camp, how it affects those who leave the babies and don't actually finish it, and how that translates to the rest of your first, second, and third clears. And there you have it, all the changes for Season 11, everything you need to know. Do keep your eyes on the patch notes in case these numbers change slightly. And don't forget, after all these changes have occurred, we need to find the best itemization for our champions, and certain items might make certain champions very, very strong. Best of luck at the end of Season 10, best of luck at the beginning of Season 11. I'll see you all for that content. Thank you very much for all the support as always. Don't forget to join me on the gameplay channel, on Twitch, on Planet 9, on Patreon, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.